Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. Be sharing the link real quick. All right, guys. Hope everybody's having a great evening. I'm Daniel with State of the Steelers. Tonight we're going to be talking a little bit of Steelers, talking a little bit of draft preview, a little bit about what hopefully we're going to be seeing coming in when it comes to this upcoming Thursday night. As hopefully everybody's aware, we're going to be picking 20th. As of right now, we're picked number 20th this upcoming Thursday night, and we'll be looking to expand our team, and hopefully in in a positive manner. So there's a lot of how can I put it? There's a lot of talk out there on which way the Steelers are going to go, whether or not we're going to go quarterback, receiver, defense. There's what I think the Steelers are going to do, and there's what I hope we're going to do. If it were, me as a GM, I would hope that we would probably lean maybe towards going up for that kid, Kyle Hamilton, safety. I know he didn't really, run so well in the combine or whatnot, but I think he did. I think that was just kind of a fluke. I think he's okay. I think he's, I saw him. Uh, I saw him. I watched the combine. I saw him doing the 40, and it seemed like he kind of drifted back and forth. Maybe he didn't, train for it as much as I don't know. Maybe he just choked. But at the end of the day, I don't think that 40-yard combine should kind of put more or be held to a higher standard than it would be his tape and what he's put on tape. And I per se haven't watched a tremendous amount of his tape. I've only been able to watch a good amount of his highlights. I looked at some of the things that maybe he was lacking in his lowlights, and it's it seemed like his potential and his he would be a great player for us, and he would be a player that I would hope we would maybe jump in front of, maybe 12 in front of the Ravens to go and pick up. Maybe even for also Jordan Davis. Our defensive front is getting kind of old. They're getting up there in age, and so with that being said, I know we traded up for Loudermilk last last off season or last draft. I'm sorry, we traded up to pick him up, and he's going to be a great piece. And I think that throughout the year, last year, he showed great improvement. I just feel that with the uncertainty right now with Stephon Tuitt, if you know, and also with how Alualu's 35, Cam Hayward's getting up there in age. It just might be good idea to bring in some young talent into that room, and Jordan Davis I think would definitely fit the bill. Now, what do I think that the Steelers will do? I believe that they're probably going to. Well, they've set themselves up to do best player available, but with their free agent signings. But with that said, they've kind of never been one to kind of hide their hand, so to speak. Last year, everybody knew we were going for Najee Harris. This year, it kind of seems that we have a few quarterbacks in line that we're going to want to pick up. It seems that, we've definitely done our due diligence to pick up a quarterback. The writing on the wall kind of indicates that, they're liking to lean more towards a Malik Willis type quarterback. Um, you know, I think Mitch Trubisky could be a good quarterback. I think that I that he could um, that with the surrounding cast around him with this team, that he would be a lot better than what he was when he was with with the Bears. I know we didn't see much of him last year, and he was a backup quarterback. He was, behind Josh Allen. So he's got to earn his right to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's going to have to, battle it out with Mason. But with that being said, I think that his talents and what he's been able to show us up to this point, um, and what Mason has shown up to this point, that this was probably Mitch's job to lose, even if we do or were to have draft a quarterback in the first round. Um, all these quarterbacks, like I said, I haven't gone deep into their film or study to go in there and say, yeah, for sure, this guy is lacking in this or that. But the indication and what the experts do say or indicate is that this is a weaker class when it comes to the quarterback room. And with that being said, um, any of these quarterbacks outside probably Pickett wouldn't be a quarterback that would be perceived to be able to start day one. And so, with that being said, um, I would prefer to lean more towards getting a player that would be able to participate or play, starting day one. Now, if Mitch shows this year that, he's not the quarterback that can lead us to where we need to be or where we want to go, then next year's quarterback class is going to be significantly stronger. I would recommend at that point moving up and trying to get somebody, because I think regardless, we're going to have a top notch defense. I don't think we're going to be in the top 10 next year either in the draft. I know a lot of people are sleeping on us, but I think we're gonna hold our own. I'm not very. I know a lot of folks are really high on the Bengals right now just because they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, but I'm not one. I don't think that. I'm not saying they're going to be easy or they're going to be what they were in the past, but they don't scare me. Neither do the Ravens, and so or the Browns for that matter of fact. Deshaun Watson's. I think when you look at the Browns record, I think for the 4 years before Deshaun, 4 years with Deshaun, the record's the same. So yeah, I don't get the hype on him. I think those teams in the AFC West, they got to play each other, and so I think that's going to give us a pretty good opportunity to have a a favorable season. So that's not going to put us in the top 10 of the draft next year. We're going to have to be probably moving up if we're going to want to get one of those top tier quarterbacks next year. But for this year, I think that the writing is on the wall that if one of these quarterbacks were to drop, whether it be Willis or perhaps Corral um, um, or Ritter, that we may take them at that 20th position. I don't think the Steelers are going to pick up Pickett. Um, he reminds me a lot of what we already have in Mason Rudolph with the ability and um, his feet. When he's in the pocket, he seems to get kind of rattled, and his feet are kind of what I call happy feet, and they move around a lot. And Mason, in the one game that we were able to see him play against the Lions this last year, seemed to have cleared that up. Uh, DK or Sports, I watch him quite often. He actually had pointed it out, and I went back and watched that game and saw that it was something that was cleared up. It was noticeable previously in 2019 season that Mason had happy feet, and it was quite noticeable. And it wasn't noticeable that it wasn't there in the Lions game. It was something I had to go back and actually see. But he did kind of clean that up. But with Pickett, from what I understand, is the Pittsburgh Panthers. They don't have the greatest offensive line, so he seemed to be kind of rattled, I guess, in the pocket, which kind of led to him to have that happy feet. And so, with that being said, I don't think the Steelers are going to lean more towards what they already have. If anything, they're going to kind of go more towards a more mobile quarterback, like a Malik Willis, like a Ritter. Um, I'm not sure how how well Corral was as far as mobility goes. Uh, I do know that he does seem a little bit smaller. Um, previously to the combine, I kind of looked at a little bit of tape or highlights on the quarterbacks, and I kind of like the way Corral threw the ball and his placement of the ball on those highlights. However, watching him at his pro day, he seemed a little bit off now. I understand he had some kind of leg injury. And so that may have affected his accuracy during the pro day. However, one thing I also did notice was that his frame was a little bit smaller. And I'm not sure the Steelers are really interested in a smaller frame quarterback. Um, you know, Majority of the quarterbacks that they've drafted or picked up have been fairly tall, been more of a mold of like a Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe not as big, but the 6'3" to 6'5" range. And so Corral, he seemed a little bit smaller. I believe all the quarterbacks, well, Corral and Willis, he's on the shorter end, but Willis is noticeably thicker, and so he has a lot of power and a lot of. You can see when he throws the ball, it pops off his hand, and so the potential's there and the talent there. It'd be just basically trying to fine tooth or trying to basically train him to be an NFL quarterback, make those second reads, not just see the first read and run. But again, I digress on the quarterback stuff. The other thing that I think that potentially we could go, or another round we could go into, is maybe potentially getting a receiver. I think a receiver is one of the major glaring holes that we have on our team right now. We did sign Miles Boykin or claimed him off of waivers from the Baltimore Ravens, not too long ago, and so that kind of adds to more depth into the room. With the loss of Juju and the loss of James Washington, we needed to add somebody else. But even though we added Gunner, he was more of a kick returner type of receiver. He's not a receiver. Hopefully, that's going to be more used in the passing offense. And so, with that being said, we still have a pretty big hole there. I would prefer to get a receiver that is a speedster. We already have um, the route runner in Deontay Johnson. We have the physical big body receiver in Claypool who's going to jump up and get the ball and most of the time fall. And then Miles Boykin, he seems to be kind of the same mold as a Claypool. Um, Potentially maybe runs a little bit faster. I know that Claypool ran a 4.4 in the 40-yard dash a couple years back at his combine. However, he doesn't display that breakaway speed when he is on the field that a person that would be running a 4.4 on the field would be portraying. And so maybe getting somebody that could back the safeties up, and also, that would definitely help out with our running game and help out Najee and our passing, our offensive line and their blocking. But if we can get somebody that can just make them go back and spread the defense out a little bit, make them a little bit more afraid of that deep throw, I think that's going to do wonders. So we definitely need to pick up a receiver, whether it's in the first round or the second. I kind of looked at who I think that is going to be there, and who I think we could choose. I personally would like that Jameson Williams kid. I don't think anybody would dislike that choice as receiver. I know he had the ACL tear late in the season. I believe it was in the championship game. Um, I know he had that injury late. However, he's already been spotted jogging and running. It appears that he'll probably be ready for week one. Our history with receivers um, from what I can remember, they weren't really thrown out there right away. And so him having an injury wouldn't be something that's going to prevent him from getting on the field earlier. I don't think whether he was injured or not, he would be coming out and playing majority of the snaps week one. I believe even like Martavius Bryant, it was like week 6 before he even made his first appearance into a game. And so, um, with that doesn't bother me. I don't think that we'll get Chris Olave, um, or the other Ohio State receiver. His name escapes me right now. Reason being is because Colbert wasn't there at their draft. At their pro day, and in the first round at least, uh, in Colbert's career as the general manager for the Steelers, he's been at every pro day. And big props to Alex Kozora and the Steelers Depot, because they're the ones that kind of look for the scouts and look for Kevin Colbert and look for Mike Tomlin at all these pro days to see basically where we're at and kind of try to piece the uh, puzzle pieces together to see, more or less who we may or may not be drafting throughout the entire draft. And so, there's only one player that, you know, Kevin Colbert wasn't at their pro day for, and that was going to be the Ziggy Hood back in 2009. Now, with that situation, it's either one or two things. In 2009, I believe it was right after we went to the Super Bowl, so we were the last pick in the draft. So there's a good chance whoever we wanted or the picks that we wanted went ahead of us that Colbert did attend probably were already picked. Or the other likelihood could be that Ziggy Hood was somebody that the Steelers didn't anticipate was going to be there at pick 31, 32, whatever it was, 32. Um, they didn't think that Ziggy Hood was going to be there, and so he may be a player that they didn't attend their pro day, and he fell down. I don't see that situation happening with the receivers. I don't think there's a receiver that can fall that's going to be on their priority list to pick up in the first round. So I'm thinking that it's more likely that we're going to pick up that receiver in the second round. Um, Jahan Dotson is probably one guy that I would keep my eye out if he were to fall into the second round. George Pickens and Sky Moore. Those are the three guys that I think that uh, the Steelers could get in the second round at pick. I believe we're at pick 52. Um, those guys right there are all in the 4.4s and could separate. Um, and I think they would be a solid choice to help back up, safeties and back up the defense on when we're out there on offense. But yeah, those are the folks that I am, or the players that I'm hoping that we're going to be signing up, or are anticipating that we're going to be picking up. Um, we'll see what happens. I know last year I think everybody knew that we are going to get Najee Harris. Um, I didn't expect Pat Fairmouth to fall, but once I saw that he was falling to the second round, I was I was hoping and I was jumping and telling everybody, I was like, I hope we get him, hope we get him. And when it was called out, yeah, I got his jersey right away. And so, with that, with the tight end, with Claypool, with even Boykins, um, and we have some big guys there. I think that's going to help out with our red zone, and that's going to help out, backing up uh, those safeties that were really up close in the box last year. And a lot of that had to do with, our quarterback being on the older side, at the end of his career. Um, but a lot of it also was probably the design and game plan. And so we're going to have to push back that, defenses. And if we can get that and we can get a receiver that can do so, I think that's going to do wonders for Najee Harris. And that's going to really increase his running totals and whatnot. I think the moves that we made in the offseason for the offensive line are going to do great. I think that Mason Cole is going to be is going to push Kendrick Green for that center position, and I think it's going to be Green and Dotson that are going to be fighting for that left guard position, and I think if it were up to me, if Dotson puts in the work, I know there was a lot of rumors last year involving Dotson and his preparation coming into camp, and how the Steelers were a little bit upset with him. He did show previously, and when he was healthy, that he was at times could be a dominant force on the offensive line. If he can get it kind of put together and be, you know, reach what his potential has shown and what he's been able to flash, I think we're going to have a pretty strong offense. I think the signing on the defensive side, the signing of Tyrell Edmonds was huge. It filled in a hole, but at the end of the day, it was only a 1 year, $2.5 million contract. What that tells me is it doesn't really take us out of the running or the possibilities of drafting a Kyle Hamilton at safety, but it also doesn't leave us in the position of having or forcing us to move up and give up draft picks for a player. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe that we're going to give up any draft picks to move up. I could be wrong, but I strongly suspect that we're not going to be moving up to, giving up draft picks. Um, hey, what's up, guys? Jonathan, Hyman, uh, Brittany. Uh, I don't think that we're going to be giving up draft picks to move up. That was one thing that Tomlin and Colbert had stated when they chose Mitch Trubisky, was that one of the reasons they chose him was the fact that they didn't have to give up any draft picks or anything to get him, because he was a free agent. He wasn't a somebody we were going to have to trade for. So that right there told me that we have some holes that we need to fix, and we like to build our team through the draft. I think we fix some stuff, but you know we're going to get those for sure fixes in the draft, and we're going to, like I said, we have those plugins from the free agency. I think the lineman, Jeremy Daniels, he was a great pickup from Chicago. He's going to do great. He's going to be replacing Trey Turner. I hope I said his name right. But he's going to be replacing him on the right side, on the right guard. So I think we're going to be all right there. Miles Jack, and if Devin Bush can kind of come back to form from pre-ACL injury of a couple years back, that's going to be a good tandem. They're both very athletic. They're both very, very fast, and they can cover. Um, I think last year our defensive front kind of played a big role with how bad our running defense was. We had Alu getting hurt very early on. We had Stephon Tuitt missing the entire year. Um, with all those things happening, it kind of left our middle linebackers exposed. And mm, Devin Bush kind of regressed. The injury aside, he did regress a little bit. Um, towards the end of the year, it did seem and it did appear that he was getting to the holes quicker. He was, making the tackles. He was making the reads faster. Wasn't being as tentative in the hole as he had been previously, which I believe had a lot to do with his ACL tear. And so, a year removed, uh, I think will do wonders for him. Having Miles Jack, a veteran there next to him that is an all-pro player, he's gonna, kind of. I think that's gonna help him out. That's gonna do great. It's gonna do wonders. If we can shore up maybe with Jordan Davis on the front end, I think that would give us a really, really good chance at having a championship defense. It would relieve a lot of the pressure on the offense, and and will potentially and will potentially get us to a not just having a winning record, but being competitive in our division and in the conference. Like I said before, those teams in the AFC West that have made a bunch of moves and have done a bunch of things there, uh, they got to play each other. They play each other twice, and so that's really going to knock down their record. We don't have a first seed record, so we're going to play. We're not playing the hardest teams. I think we're going to be competitive. I think we have a chance to, you know, really, if we can start off somewhat quick, I think towards the end of the season, we'll be able to kind of start really catching it on and really getting going and for a run. Um, at least that's what we can hope for. But at the end of the day, it starts off with the draft, and that starts off on Thursday night. This weekend coming up, Saturday they have the draft party in Heinz Field. I'll be attending. It's in Pittsburgh. It's my first one going. I'm super excited. There's going to be they have where you can the meet some Steeler legends and get on the field. If you're able to get to, it looks like they throw a football at you from the jug machine. You get to catch that in the end zone. You potentially kick a field goal in Heinz Field, which is pretty cool. I want to try to do that. I hope I don't kick the ground and Charlie Brown my foot or anything, but we'll see. I'm super excited. I'm stoked about it. I'll be there if anybody sees me. Say hi. I have an extra ticket if anybody wants to go. It's free. They just got to find their way there. It's going to be Saturday. It's at 11 a.m. Pittsburgh time, so it's 10 o'clock Central. I'm located in Texas, and so with that being said, does kind of answer some questions in the live chat. I see a few people that are still in there. Yes, Jaime, we definitely need to start that. No, Big Ben retired. He won't be there this year. He stepped down. We signed Mitch Trubisky. He was a quarterback, second round overall pick a few years back from Chicago. He had a 1 year that he did very, very well, ended up making a Pro Bowl, and then he kind of fell off. I believe there was a coaching change, and when the coaching change came, they, from what I understand, is they picked up Nick Foles, who was a quarterback from the. He'd recently played with the Eagles and was a Super Bowl MVP with them, and so there was a little bit of controversy there, and so he was kind of doomed to start, and so kind of threw like one interception type of deal, and they benched him for Nick Foles. From what I understand, is Nick Foles got injured somewhere during the season, and Trubisky came back in and kind of did well enough to make the playoffs. And then last year he spent the entire year on the as a backup on the bench behind Josh Allen at Buffalo. And then this year we picked him up. He was probably one of the, if not the top QB free agent that was out there. It was actually quite surprising that we picked him up day one. I wasn't actually thinking we were going that route. At the time we had Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins on the team. Rest in peace, Dwayne. I was thinking that we're going to go into camp, maybe get a unrestricted free agent in the draft, or not unrestricted free agent. Get a undrafted free agent quarterback in the draft and potentially go in with those three. But then as the year progressed, it was pretty obvious that we're probably going to draft a quarterback in the first round now. Yeah, Ben is a legend. Definitely was. Ben was definitely better than Brady. Brady had to cheat. He cheated for so many years. I remember the first game that Ben and Brady had. It was in that 2004 season where, at the time, excuse me, the Patriots were undefeated. They had they've been undefeated since the previous season, so they were like 21-0 or something like that. And Ben came in here and lit them up, and it was a great game. Later on that year, we lost to them, but as everybody knows, they were excuse me. As everybody knows, they were videotaping all of the signals and stuff, and I wonder how many rings we would have had that not happened. It's a shame because it goes all the way back to like 1997, I believe. 2001. I'm sorry, with Cordell Stewart, and we played the Patriots in the championship that year. And I think it was Joey Porter who said it. He's like, it was like they knew what we were calling. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, he retired. Next time we see Big Ben will be in 5 years in Canton, Ohio, not Canton, in Canton, Ohio. He he'll be definitely a first round ballot Hall of Famer, especially now that Brady came back. So Brady had retired the same this year also. Apparently, there was some kind of plot for him to uh, basically go and be partial owner of the Miami Dolphins and play for them. And I believe that Belichick didn't want that to happen, so he kind of leaked out to Brian Flores, "Hey, um, you know, they already chose their quarterback," which started that whole lawsuit stuff. And I mean, not quarterback; they chose their coach, and which started the lawsuit with the NFL right now and Brian Flores, which prevented Tom Brady from owning and participating with the in some ways. I know that the Buccaneers also would have had to have released them, and some other stuff would have had to have gone down. But there's that conspiracy that Belichick purposely let out to Brian Flores that Brian Gable was getting the job for the New York Giants head coaching job, while Brian Flores was still going through the coaching interviews, violating um, the Rooney Rule. Uh, but yeah, so this upcoming Saturday, I'll be out there at Heinz Field. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for who we're going to pick up. I'm excited for how this team's going to develop. I was talking to a couple of folks here recently, and just kind of telling them that the team is changing, and it's not the same team that I grew up watching, and so it's a little scary in a sort of a sense because I feel like I'm getting old, but it's new and it's exciting at the same time. Tyrell Edmonds, yes, Tyrell Edmonds got a 1 year deal, $2.5 million. He's our strong safety. I think he's pretty good. He gets a lot of hate. Uh, he gets a lot of hate because he may not be the ball hawking safety that Minka Fitzpatrick is. So basically, Minka Fitzpatrick, when he was traded to the Steelers, he was a turnover machine. He interception after interception after interception. And I guess the expectation was that Terrell Edmonds was going to be the same, which was also, well, that expectation of the safety play was left behind, from Troy Polamalu. So Troy Polamalu was a first round pick. Terrell Edmonds was a first round pick. So because of that, that expectation was set. We end up trading for Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a first round safety. The standard is there. The bar is set. And Terrell Edmonds isn't that ball hawking safety, but he's, in my opinion, is a really strong, good safety. He's a durable player. He's, one of the things that Mike Tomlin says is your best availability or your best ability is availability. I'm sorry. And so he's been available, I believe. I think he only missed one game in his entire career for injury. Better knock on wood or something. But he's missed one game. He's been a solid player. Doesn't really get beat too often. In fact, he gets kind of the Ike Taylor treatment, where Ike Taylor was really solid but couldn't catch very well, and so he dropped and left a lot of picks on the field or interceptions on the field. Edmonds kind of has done the same. I remember in 2019 against Arizona, I was actually in attendance for this game. Um, Kyle Murray threw a deep ball out to, I want to say it was one of his receivers, and Edmonds tracked the ball down and he jumped up right through his hands. Was a completion. I'm not even sure. I think they scored a touchdown. I'm not sure if it was on that play or on that drive, but it made the game close. And if I believe it was a Deontay Johnson punt return for a touchdown that ended up winning the game for us. This was back when Ben had injured his arm and Duck was playing for us after the benching of Mason Rudolph. But yeah, so I'm excited about it. The deal itself isn't one that's like he's our starter. So it's not like we're paying him $10 million this year or $7 million this year. Where regardless of who we go or what we do in the draft, he's our starter. He is shockingly very low. In fact, he was a first round pick, so we had the first year or the fifth year option for him. I believe the fifth year option for him was around $5 to $6 million for this year. Had we signed him for that fifth year, which is basically like a franchise tag, we decided not to let him test free agency, and we signed him for half, at $2.5 million. The type of player that he is, and if you look at his stats, I mean, it lines up with, the Honey Badger. It lines up with Abrams. He is a solid player, and if he wasn't paired up next to Minka, and if he wasn't trying to fill in Troy Polamalu's shoes, I think he would have a higher reputation or a higher outlook. I mean, everybody would have seen him as a much as the player that he really truly is. I mean, he's really good. He's a solid player. Not everybody that we draft or pick is going to be a Hall of Famer. You know, this just doesn't happen anymore. It's not the 70s. But we can have some solid, good players. I mean, at one point, a couple years, well, I think we have the most first round draft picks on, playing for the defensive side. A lot of those guys, aren't Hall of Famers. I mean, we have potentially Minka that's going to be really, really good. He's on his path, and TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt is definitely really good. But that's a big question mark if he's coming back as well. After the death of his brother last year, he didn't play at all. There were some reports that, he had a knee injury and then he had surgery. And so when he was able to come back in and play, he didn't come in game shape. And then there was a setback in the knee. From all accounts, he's been back in the building. The one thing that kind of questions my curiosity or brings up my curiosity is that, the Steelers haven't given him a definitive, haven't come out and said, yeah, he's going to play or he's not going to play or his intentions are going to play. They're just like, we're going to give him more time. And it's just weird at the way they're handling his situation. I mean, I understand that, if he's still dealing with the passing of his family member, then, by all means, everybody handles things their own way. However, if it's the knee issue, and or even if he's not in it for the football reason anymore, you would think that at this point, after so long, the team would come out and say, hey, we're gonna retire or something. But that's the team. That's the way they do business. Potentially, maybe he is coming back, and they don't want to give any updates. No. I guess the way I'm trying to say is if there was a positive feedback, I don't understand why the team wouldn't have said it by now. Unless their intention is potentially to use him as maybe trade bait to trade up in the draft to move up. Potentially, I'm not sure if anybody's going to want an aged defensive lineman who has had an injury history. So we'll see. All of these, the questions will be answered come Thursday night, or some of them, and then the rest will be answered throughout the week. I'm excited for it. I'll be coming on live probably on Wednesday, and then again, I'll be coming on live after the draft, kind of talk about who it is that we pick, what it means for us, and what what we could be doing potentially in the future or for the next few rounds, the second round and the third round, and then again in day three of the draft. Um, Please follow, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. That way, you guys get notified for all my lives. I'm gonna try to go consistently at around 7:30 Central, so it's about 8:30 Eastern, um, like 5:30 Pacific. Well, um, I'm gonna try to be going on maybe 2, 3 times a week. And if any news breaks for the Steelers, then I'll be posting clips and whatnot of those news that are breaking from here on out. Again, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends and anybody that you know are Steeler fans. And I appreciate everything, and y'all have a great night.